All right, here we are. Welcome everybody to our webinar on skin, hair, and self-care. And of course, now I'm looking up to make sure I don't have to add anybody else in. I'm Ellen Krupe. I work with HabitAware, and my very dear friend Tiffany is on with us, and she works with Follain, and we're delighted to have everybody here. Super excited. So let's begin. So I want to share with this webinar why us. And there's a couple of reasons why we felt that it was good to do this webinar. And I'll start with me. So I'm Ellen, I'm 54, and I've been a hair puller since I was 11 years old. And I had no idea that I was doing any damage. I had no idea that I was causing any problems. I was out on the playground, it was during gym class, and I was neither sporty nor popular. And I was just playing with my hair, and I pulled one out. And all of a sudden, I was hooked. Oh, hold on one second, guys. I'm getting some comments here. Sound quality isn't good. It's repeatedly grabby, getting feedback. Possibly someone needs to go on mute. Thank you for whoever sent that. Could anyone else out there, is anyone else getting problems? They're hearing it too?
Yeah, there's a lot of feedback. I think if everybody goes on mute, it'll go away. I think we're just hearing text messages come through and your voice is echoing a bit. So if everybody mutes themselves, it should be good.
Thank you very much. I thought I had muted everybody, but if you guys would all go on mute, and it sounds better to me right now. I'm hoping it sounds better to all of you.
That sounds better.
All right, gang, let's start over. Okay, so I'm a hair puller. And I started pulling my hair when I was 11, like I mentioned. And I had 2 bald spots in the back of my head, but I didn't know that until I went to the hairdresser. You know how the hairdressers are. You know, they go like this, they go like this. And all of a sudden, my hairdresser, Fatima, her whole face changed. And she called my mother over and she said, Sandy, there's something wrong with Ellen. There's something wrong with Ellen. She's got 2 bald spots in the back of her head. And all I could hear was, there's something wrong with Ellen. And I felt like I was wrong. So then they looked at me and they said, what did you do? What's wrong with you? What did you do? And I said to them, Ann Sino, who was my best friend at the time, she put gum in my hair and I had to pull it out. And they were satisfied and I was terrified. And I said to myself, never, ever again. I'm never pulling ever again. And you guys know how that went. So for years, I disguised my pulling. I just pulled all over. And I would stop after about 3 hours, fearful of how much damage I would do. And I pulled every day somewhere between 10 minutes and 3 hours. Oh, and you know what, gang? I'm going to move my chat over here so people don't have to see that. So in May of 2017, I was pulling after binge watching This Is Us. Remember that show? And I was so out of my mind that I Googled what are the latest breakthroughs in trichotillomania, expecting to see nothing. And all of a sudden an ad for Keen came up. And I decided I've got to try this. So I bought 2 bracelets. And when I bought the bracelets, I put them on and I trained 4 areas here and 4 areas here. And it was an epic fail. But I ended up doing a FaceTime with one of the owners and they shared with me how I was training it incorrectly. And that changed everything for me. So much so that I was able to feel my awareness. And once I got that awareness, I was able to know where my hands are and then use all the strategies that I learned to put my hands down. And I went from pulling 10 minutes to 3 hours every day to hardly pulling. And within about a month, I called up HabitAware and said, I have to work with you. I want to help others the way you've helped me. And guess what? They said, let's give it a go. And for the last 3 years, I've been working with HabitAware. So that's me. And then about a year ago, Tiffany, I think it was, I was walking on Bethesda Avenue and there's this brand new store in Follain with this gorgeous windows and a beautiful bathtub. Why is there a bathtub in here? And I bomb on in and I meet Tiffany, and she shares with me all of the good lotions and potions that are in her store and why it's so important to use clean beauty, which really resonated with me because I work with hair pullers and I work with skin pickers. And when we damage our bodies and we put things on it that are not helpful to us, that can be toxic with different chemicals, I said to her, we've got to work together. We've got to do something. And so for a while, we've been going back and forth on what we can do. And here we are. And so I'm thrilled to introduce Tiffany Bassford. She is one of my dearest friends. And let her tell you a little bit about her story, and then we'll get into the webinar.
Thanks so much, Ellen. And just everyone, thank you for taking the time to join us today. You know, I know we're all at home, but it doesn't mean that we don't have a lot of things to do. So thank you. So I am the director for Follain, and we are a creator and also curator of the best of clean beauty. And we're going to talk a little bit more later about like what that means. So over the last few years, I've had hundreds of conversations with men and women alike, really asking about their skin and looking into what benefits they're looking from their skincare, educating on ingredients, and helping people get the benefits that they want. And for reference, I'm 36, and I had problematic skin well into my 30s. And by problematic for me, that meant that I was always really oily, which my mom said, my Italian side, that's why. And I would be grateful for it one day when I had wrinkles, which I am starting to become grateful for it. But when you tell that to a 16-year-old who is breaking out, you could care less if you're going to be 45 with wrinkles because you just want the acne gone, right? So I stumbled into a clean beauty spa and had a service done. And the esthetician looked at my skin. I was using all kinds of dermatological interventions. And she said, you know, your top layer of skin is burnt. It's chemically burnt. And I was like, well, why am I doing this? Why am I using these products that aren't actually helping my skin? And so she switched me onto clean products, and I saw my skin almost like take a breath of fresh air, because I was drying it out and then slathering on moisture and then just doing the cycle over and over again. And so through this process, I realized that I needed to be gentle with my skin, and that actually helped the acne to heal. So it's been a journey. Something that I'm really passionate about is good, proper skin health. And so that's what I want to talk about a little bit later with everyone.
Thanks, Tiffany. So let's dig in. So today we're going to talk about what are BFRBs and what they are not. We're also going to talk about how your BFRBs affect your skin and your hair and your health. And then we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about creating a self-care routine. Tiffany has a whole lot of products to share. I do too. And we'll go through some Q&As. What I would like you to do is to send all of your questions through the chat. And if you would, send it to everybody so that Tiffany can see them as well. We are going to talk about hair pulling. We're going to talk about skin picking, and we're going to talk about hair pulling. So let's dig in. So I'm going to throw a poll for my first time because I'd like to get a sense of who's out there so that we can make sure what we're saying is relevant to you. So we're going to start with poll number 1. Let's see if this is even, I'm hoping you guys can see this. Can you see it, Tiffany? Okay, so here's where you guys are going to fill in these questions. So what's your BFRB? What is your gender? And how old you are? We'll let that go for another, we'll let it go for about a minute. And while that's going, I'm gonna launch into, looks like almost, yeah, let's just keep going for a few minutes. Let's just talk a little bit about what BFRBs are for those who don't know or want a little bit more information. So BFRB stands for body focused repetitive behavior. And it's really anything that's repetitively done to the body. It's typically with our hands, but it also could be when you're biting the inside of your mouth or biting your lips. My daughter chews her tongue. But typically BFRBs are hair pulling, skin picking, and nail biting. And let's talk for a minute about hair pulling. Actually, I'm going to take a step back for a second. All body focused repetitive behaviors, they serve a purpose, and they are self-soothing coping mechanisms. We who pull our hair, pick our skin, bite our nails, bite the inside of our mouth, and I will just click, looks like we're done with the poll. I'm going to click end poll so we can see, share the results. Okay, and I'll just leave that up here so that we have the information. Awesome. So we tend to do these behaviors because they're self-soothing, and they're a coping mechanism. We tend to do these behaviors two ways. We do them focused and we do them automatically. We tend to do them in times of stress. They could be done when we're bored, when we're anxious, when we are working, when we're concentrating. And it's in some people believe that BFRBs are a self-grooming gene sort of gone haywire. With hair pulling, as well as with skin picking and nail biting, we tend to get into a zone or into a trance. So we might automatically be working at our desks and our elbows down, and we're writing with our pencil, and we're playing with our hair, or we're picking at our skin, and we don't even realize that we're doing it until 45 pieces of hair are on the floor. And we think that maybe we've only been pulling for 5 minutes, but actually we've been pulling or picking for 55 minutes. And also with these behaviors, they can wax and wane over time. For me, some of the worst times I had was in college, my freshman year, probably because I was away from home in an environment that I wasn't comfortable with. And I realized that once we've been here with COVID-19, my hands have been very restless and they've been wanting to go to my hair. There's also some of us who are focused pullers where, and I didn't bring my tweezers with me, but let's pretend these are tweezers, that you are excited. You can't wait. You're going to get into the bathroom and you're going to fix that eyebrow. And you think you're in there for 5 minutes just fixing 1 or 2 hairs. And you turn around and it's 55 minutes and half your eyebrow is gone. And you didn't even realize you were in there that long. So that's what these behaviors are. They are self-soothing. They are coping mechanisms. They could be part of perfectionism. And we want to stop, but we're unable to stop. But let me also talk a little bit about, let me move this out of the way, what BFRBs are not, because I think this is so important. BFRBs are not self-harm. They're not self-punishment. And the reason why this is important is because the treatment is different. The other thing BFRBs are not is they are not OCD. Though they fall under the definition of OCD, they fall under related disorders. And like with other disorders, you could have a cold and have allergies. You could also have a BFRB and have OCD. Sometimes there are disorders that are commingled. And the reason why this matters is because, again, the treatment is different. I also wanted to mention to everybody that these polls are anonymous, so no one knows who's saying anything to anybody. And the last thing I wanted to mention too about BFRBs is they're not your fault. My mother, who has diabetes, type 1, age 65, which is a whole nother webinar, she didn't choose to have that, but she can control her diabetes with insulin, diet, and exercise. I didn't choose to have a BFRB. I didn't choose to pull my hair, and it's not my fault. And I can control it with awareness, coping strategies, and creating new, healthier habits. So let's move on to the next slide. So this is a question I get all the time. And I even ask myself this question: why can't I just stop? Why? And just like I mentioned before, my mother will never have a diabetes-free day, right? She's never going to be diabetic-free. She just can't stop having diabetes. So you really need to change the question to why can't I manage my BFRB? And that's the key here, is manage. So then you have to ask yourself some really hard questions like, do I want to change? And I can share with you that there are times in my life I've had this disorder for over 40 years that I didn't want to change. I was able to have my hair, hide it, and pull in places that nobody else could tell. It's sort of like eating as many cookies as you wanted, but not gaining any weight. And I didn't want to change. I even had a therapist say to me, Ellen, I don't think you should come back because you're not ready to change. So those are two questions you have to ask yourself. Do I want to change, and am I ready to change? And then change, remember, is not linear. You might decide you want to change at 11 o'clock in the morning, and then 11 o'clock at night comes around and you don't want to change anymore. And that's okay. You can work on your BFRB wherever you are at that moment in time. And if we can just take small steps to manage our BFRB, small, positive, healthy steps, then it can help us move towards more small steps and more small steps that are going to create healthier behaviors. So let's do another poll here, lunch poll. So my question now for everybody is, just so I have an idea out there, how many of you have a key bracelet and how many of you don't? On here. So I want to talk a little bit about awareness. So just like with BFRBs, or just with anything, if you can't change what you don't know. And if you don't, just like anything, if you're not aware of it, you can't make a change. If you don't know what your blood pressure is, then you can't have blood pressure lowering medicine. If you don't know, if you don't know that you're pulling or picking, it's really hard to make a change. So the key bracelet, and let me just move, we'll move the poll out of the way. What the key bracelet does is it's just a reminder. It's just a tool. I like to call it a screwdriver because it's just a tool. But when you have it trained properly, and if anybody needs help training, you can email me. I'll throw my email address at the end. I'll be delighted to hop on a one-on-one and help you train it. But the key bracelet will gently vibrate when you're doing your behavior. And what I like to do is consider it a hug on my wrist, making me aware of what I am doing so that I can then use and choose and develop healthier habits. That's all it is. And it's an amazing tool that can help you mind shift so that when you get the vibration, you can then go from the unfocused or the lizard brain to the focused. The bracelet is like a little hug on your wrist. But let's move through and talk about, so we talked about awareness. And awareness is you're able to have an understanding of when you're pulling and when you're picking and what you're thinking. When the vibration goes off, you can also cue you to go, I'm having some negative thoughts. How can I move those into positive thoughts? And the best way to have strength in order to control and manage your BFRB is through knowledge. So I want to take some time and talk a little bit about skin itself and hair. So skin, you may or may not realize, it's our largest organ. It protects us. It protects our inner tissues from the outer world. And it's its job to keep infections and germs away from us. The thing I didn't know, which I think is really cool, is our skin will regenerate itself in about every 27 days. So let's talk a little bit about that. So there's 4 stages to skin healing. And the first one, there's different parts of the skin. And Tiffany, chime in if you wish. There's the epidermis and then there's the dermis. And the epidermis is the top layer of the skin. If you just scratch it, you're just scratching your epidermis. But if you cut into the next layer, which is your dermis, you're going to see blood. And that triggers your body to have natural healing process. So it's your little red blood cells are saying, alert, alert, alert. We've got a problem. We need to block whatever's happening so no pathogens come in. So imagine you're picking at your skin, you see blood. Boom. Red blood cells go out. Then the next stage is inflammation, which is swelling, and the body sends white blood cells to fight off any rogue bacteria, which is so important. The third step is the fibroblast, where the cells are going to enter the wound. They're going to throw some collagen and they're going to replace what was there before. So you're going through these 4 stages of healing. And the third one is that connective tissue. The fourth one is when the dermis and the epidermis connect and they close the wound. And this is so important to understand, especially for all you skin pickers out there, because you might think, I have a bump, I need to fix this. And you think that if you could just smooth it out, you'll be great. But we all know that's not true. And if you can remember these 4 stages, you can let your body try to help heal itself. So let's talk a little bit about hair. So with trichotillomania, we can pull any kind of hair on our body. It can put our head hair, it could be our eyelashes or our eyebrows, and it could be any kind of hair, even pubic hair people will pull, as well as the hair on their arms. And there's different phases of the hair. So the first phase is the anagen phase, and that's the growth phase where the hair is growing. It has blood cells that are going to the root, and then the hair divides, and then it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And it grows at a different rate based on the part of the body. The scalp hair grows the longest, or the longest time frame. So for 3 to 5 years, a piece of hair will grow, where eyebrows and eyelashes are shorter, 4 months and 4 to 6 weeks. The second phase is the anagen phase, and that's when it's a very short transition phase when the hair is done growing. And that's for all hair on our body. And that's usually about 10 days. And then the third phase is the telogen phase. And that's the last one where the hair is resting and it's inactive, it's not growing, it's not waiting. And that's when the cycle ends and it just falls out, and it naturally will fall out. And that usually lasts for about 3 months. And I bring that up because it's important to understand how fast hair grows or how slow hair grows, so that you can get an understanding of what your body is doing. So we're going to transition into the clean beauty phase here. I'm just admitting some more people who just are joining us. And for those that are just joining us, I am recording this, and I will do my best to get it out to everybody. And I am going to work on my third poll. So let me come in here and see if I can do this one. And these polls are anonymous, and I'm launching the poll. So what we'd like to know here is, what do you guys know about clean beauty? Are you new to clean beauty? Are you very, very familiar with it? Do you know some, but not too much? Just so Tiffany can have an idea of where to move the conversation. All right, Tiffany, take it away.
Perfect. Thank you, Ellen. So we'll put up the results in a second from the poll, just so I have a better understanding of where everybody is when it comes to clean. Because like Ellen said, you know, she walked into our store. We have a beautiful bathtub, and we get people who come in who are avid clean beauty followers. They know all about it. They know ingredients. And then we got other people who come in and say, your bathtub is really gorgeous, but where am I? Right? So we really run the gamut, and our job is really to educate people. It's really the lifeblood of what we do. So our founder, Tara Foley here, her journey started over 10 years ago, and she realized that there was a need for a destination for high performing clean beauty. At the time, she was headed to law school, and she realized that there were so many toxins, and women were really bearing the burden of this toxic load, predominantly because of all the products that we put on our skin. If you think about it in the morning, from your showers to your beauty products, you can be putting on, 10, 20, 30 different toxins into your skin by 8 a.m. So she started a blog at the time called The Natural Chemist. And from interviewing and talking to people in the clean beauty world, she realized that there was a lot of interest in it, but it was still at an infantile stage. So she dropped her pursuit of law and then went to go get her MBA. And during the whole time she got her MBA, she submitted the idea to a national business plan competition. She won, and she got the grant that started up Follain. And so we opened up the first store in Boston in 2013. And Ellen, if you have the results from the poll, maybe we can take a look at that. Okay, so most of you are new or know some, but not a lot. Great. Okay, that's wonderful, because we're definitely going to explore it a little bit more. And Ellen, if you want to go to the next slide.
Yes.
So we really believe that no one should have to compromise their health for beauty. You should be able to have luxurious products that really work with your skin, with your hair, and are highly effective, but are still, you know that you're not having that toxic burden, right? So we test everything for efficacy. First and foremost, and we're also really transparent about all the toxins that we don't allow in any of the products we either make or we carry. And so our job is to match you to the best products for your skin. And it's really, that guarantee is something we really stand by. So I want to go into a little bit of why we exist, especially since many of you are new to clean beauty. So Ellen, if you want to go to the next slide.
Oops.
Perfect. All right, so a little bit of history. We're just going to take a moment to look back. So 1938 was a key year, and that was the last major federal law that was passed regulating the safety of ingredients in personal care products. And if you ask me, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy, because if you think about all the innovations over the last century, there have been so many ingredients that have been introduced into our personal care products, and they haven't been regulated, right? And so that's really scary. There's definitely a need for regulation. So, Ellen, if you go to the next slide, yep, perfect. So the reason we exist, if you look into, same in 2019 as 2020, there are 1,400 ingredients that are banned in the European Union. Here in the United States, there are 30. Now, a few years ago, that number was 11. And that is a really big difference between those two, right? So that's where we really come into play. And we said, well, that's not good enough. With lack of regulation, we're going to take a look at this. We're going to look at the toxins that have really been invented over the last few years. And we're going to change that. We're going to be transparent. We're going to educate people. The whole point of what we do is to arm you with information so that you can be informed for yourself. I think the beauty industry for far too long has made us feel less than. It's made us feel that we're not good enough. We need to meet a certain standard. And that's not what clean beauty is about. Clean beauty is about empowering you with information and getting you really beautiful products that you reach for. And you're like, this is wonderful because I know it's safe for me. I know it's safe for my family, and it's going to get me the benefits that I'm looking for. And I think there's also a mindful attribute in this as well, that you know you're reaching for something that is serving you and has healing ingredients to help with your skin. So if you want to go to the next slide, Ellen. All right, so our approach, we look at 3 different facets really. So you'll see matchmaking, curation, and education. And matchmaking is important because everybody's skin is different. So our founder always says that, you know, with conventional beauty, if you use something from conventional beauty and it doesn't work, you're more likely to blame yourself because we've been primed. Just say, oh, well, it didn't work for me. But let me try something else. Where when someone tries something from the clean world, and if it doesn't work for you, you might be apt to think, well, clean doesn't work as a whole. And we know that's not true. We know these clean ingredients that are safe for your skin do have beautiful results. So matchmaking is really key to us. It's very consultative. Ellen could tell you that as well.
Yes, that is for sure.
Yeah.
The first thing that happens is when you walk in and you want some help or if you call on the phone, is tell me about your skin, because everybody's skin is different. Just like with BFRBs, with hair pulling and skin picking, everybody pulls and picks differently. Everybody has different needs.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
It's
it's a
very,
safe place. So I felt super comfortable being able to share that I have hair pulling. And so it's not like one of those places where you feel like you can hide. You can walk in and feel very at ease and at home.
yeah. And I think that's really key, is to really meet people where they are. If you come in and you say, you know, I've never heard of clean beauty, like, we get excited. We want to talk to you. Same with our online team. Our online team has worked in stores, so they know the face-to-face interactions, and they're going to ask the same questions. Like, well, tell me about you. Tell me about your skin. Tell me about your, you know, your routine. Maybe you're a mom of two and you don't have time for, you know, 5-step skincare regimen. That's okay. That's fine. Like, let's find you something that's going to work for you, that is, you know, going to fit in between, you know, a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, maybe like climbing all over you in the morning. So that's why we put so much into our curation and what we create as well. We're really transparent online. If you look at our website, with everything that we ban and why. And again, the whole point is, going to the third point, is education. So we want to educate our teams so that they can educate you, so that you can look at the back of your bottles when we get off of this, and you can come at it with a little bit more knowledge than maybe you had an hour ago. And for me, that's a win. We're all on this journey, and it's very much a journey, whether it's a BFRB or if it's getting clean skincare, reducing our toxic burden. It's all a journey. And so education is a big component of that. So if you want to go to the next one. All right. So what I want to talk about is some of what we ban and why. Now, again, the whole point of this is for afterward. I want you to be able to take your bottle at it and run through the ingredients and say, oh, okay, that's what Tiffany was talking about, right? So the first one's a really big one, and it's aluminum compounds. So you'll actually find these aluminum compounds in your deodorant. So the body is meant to detox through the lymphatic system. The armpit area is a big component of that. We're meant to sweat. That's part of our detoxification channel. So these aluminum compounds are metallic elements, and what they actually do is plug up the sweat ducts, so you don't sweat. But what that also does is, there's a risk of neurotoxicity. And of all the things we carry in store and online, this is one of the ones that's been researched the most, with its link to breast cancer, right? So you'll find this aluminum ingredient in antiperspirants. That is the ingredient that makes it so you don't sweat. And so you can easily avoid this by switching to a clean deodorant. It's actually the perfect time to switch to a clean deodorant, because you do go through a little bit of a detoxification journey with it. And so during that detoxification period, you will sweat a little bit more, you'll probably smell a little bit more, and depending on your body, it can last from 1 to 3 weeks. I was the lucky one where it lasted for 3 full weeks. But then after that, you do actually feel a difference. Your body will start to detoxify the way that you're supposed to. And honestly, we're not really around anybody right now, so it's sort of the perfect time to switch to a clean deodorant and start that journey. Now, the next one is synthetic flavor or fragrance. So fragrance is a really big category. So you'll find this in a lot of your perfumes, obviously, but you'll also find it in any of the scents in your face washes, your lotions, your butters. Pretty much all of your lotions and potions typically have some type of fragrance in it. So these are considered a trade secret, which is why you have one word on the label. It just says fragrance, but that can be up to 3,000 different ingredients in there. All right, so fragrance, this is such a big category that I want you all to have an understanding of. So the concern with it is potential skin and respiratory irritation. It can trigger allergies.
Can I ask something really quick?
Sure.
What does this have to do with hair pollen?
So this is in overall skin health, and you'll actually find fragrance in shampoos and conditioners as well. And so these can be major skin irritants that can irritate the scalp. It can irritate, because that's the skin as well. And the pores on your head are 1.5 times the size of the pores on the rest of your body. So all of these ingredients, it's key that if you're having any type of irritation, you want to maintain the integrity of the skin and what it's supposed to do as your largest organ. And so these are some of the ingredients to pay attention to make sure that you're using products that are going to nourish yourself.
So if I understood well, these products are to, how can I say it, to prevent or to cure?
Oh, I'll take that one, Tiffany.
Sure.
Maria, we can talk later if you want specifically about hair pulling and some of the issues that you have. There is no cure for hair pulling. What Tiffany and I are doing right now is sharing information about ingredients that are in products that can irritate and that can be harmful, as well as information for those that are skin pickers, as well as hair pullers, what products they can use on their bodies, their face, their hair, to help create a healthy routine.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, that's great. So I think it's important as part of your overall regimen for your hair, for your skin, for your body, to know mentally that you are investing in it with ingredients that are good, right? And so going back to fragrance, you'll find this even in your perfumes. Your cosmetic products will have fragrance in it. So if you're having skin irritation, which can be triggering for you, it might be coming from some of the ingredients in what you're using in your skincare, right? So we want to minimize that. We want to minimize the irritation. The next is phenoxyethanol. So phenoxyethanol is a preservative. It was found in a lot of products because it was thought to be a safer preservative than the parabens that you'll find in a lot. But recently it was discovered that it also is a skin irritant. It's a nervous system suppressant as well. And it's been connected to longer times to get pregnant as well. And so the best way to avoid this is really just start looking at your products and you'll see it in there. It's one of the ingredients we ban. And we were one of the first ones last year to come out and say, like, actually, we're pulling anything with this. We're no longer comfortable with that ingredient being in there. The other one that you'll see is PEG compounds. So PEG compounds, you'll see them as PEGs on the back of your products. So these serve as thickeners, solvents, softeners, moisture carriers, penetration enhancers. So you'll have them in a lot of lotions and things like that. And when you think about the skin as your largest organ, anything you put on your skin may enter through the skin within 30 seconds into the bloodstream. Now, your body has mechanisms so that doesn't happen, but when you talk about PEG compounds, they're in there to help pull it deeper into the skin. And so when you layer that with some other toxic ingredients that you don't necessarily want pulled into the skin, you can see why that would be problematic. Right? And so to get away from PEG compounds, because they're so prolific, switching to Clean Beauty will get rid of those. Clean Beauty doesn't allow for PEG compounds, right? The other category is phthalates, and you'll have a little bit more of what you can see there, the BP, DEHP, and what you'll find them under different names on your labels. And so these serve as denaturants, solubilizers, but the concern with them is that they're endocrine disruptors. They may cause birth defects, and a lot of times they're not even labeled. You'll find these a lot in your fragrances and your hairsprays. So by just being aware of these things, you can make sure that you're not having them in your products. And then the final big category, and this is by no means exhaustive, all of this is on our website because like I said, we are really transparent and we want to educate you. But this is just some of the top offenders, right? So sodium lauryl sulfate and sodium lauryl sulfate, you'll see there. These are in so many things. Anything that foams or bubbles pretty much is going to have SLS. It is a known skin irritant, so much so that in labs, when they want to test the calming efficacy of an ingredient, they will first irritate the skin on the animal that they're testing on with SLS because it is that much known as a skin irritant. And then they will test the calming properties of whatever ingredient it is. But to me, that's crazy that we know that, and it's in so many of our products, especially right now with us washing our hands so much. If you look at your soap, so many of the soaps are going to have SLS in there. And when we're washing our hands as often as we are now, you're exposing yourself to that more and more and more. You'll even find it in toothpaste, right? Mm-hmm. So the best way to avoid this is either clean beauty, because we don't allow it, or consumer demand. The more you know and the more you demand things to be free of certain ingredients, you'll see products now labeled with SLS free because the consumers have said, hey, we don't want this anymore. And so manufacturers have listened, which is really key. So Ellen, if you want to go to the next slide.
Yeah, before we do, there was a great question I wanted to bring up because it goes along with these products. The question was about exfoliating devices like Clarisonic, and is that good for you? Is it beneficial? Do you have any insight on that?
I do, yeah. I think that when it comes to the Clarisonics, a lot of times we try to exfoliate the crap out of our skin. We really do. There's an acid mantle on the skin. It's a protective layer. It's there for a reason. I think we go too crazy with the Clarisonics. I think there are really better options for like gentle brushes and things like that. There's also really wonderful exfoliating scrubs. I know a lot of us on here probably use that apricot scrub. I know I was really guilty of that.
Yeah,
that really has no business being on your face because it has really jagged edges, where a scrub that we have has microspheres of apricot, so they're round. So you want to think about exfoliation is really key for the skin. You can't moisturize dead skin, but there are more gentle ways to do it. And if you have drier skin, for example, and you're using something like a Clarisonic or something with that manual exfoliation, the skin is pretty tight. Even the dead skin is tight, just because of how dry our skin is sort of matrixed. So like an enzymatic exfoliation might be a little bit better for drier skin types. But this really comes into the matchmaking and reaching out to the educators at Follain who can talk to you about your skin, can talk to you about what you're looking to accomplish, and recommend the most gentle way of achieving that for your skin. But hopefully that answers your question. And then, were there any other questions, Ellen, that you saw that I saw one here for a clean hair dye.
Yes, I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah, that's a great question. When it comes to hair dye, there is cleaner. There are some salons, if you do research in your area. I know Ellen and I are around the DC area and there's a few, but they're few and far between. Salons, as they're learning, as consumers are learning, are really pushing for that. But I think there's still a lot of innovation that needs to happen in the clean hair dye area. But you might be able to find one near you just by doing some research. But thanks for the questions. All right, so a little bit about skin typing. I'm not going to read through this, but I did want to give you a little bit of information because, again, I think it's key to understand maybe a little bit about your skin. And if this is triggering, then by all means, this information doesn't serve you, right? But it is important to know that, people will come to us all the time and say, I have such large pores and my friend doesn't have large pores. Well, you probably have oily skin. I have oily skin, and I'm going to have visceral pores. It's just how my skin is, right? So it's a matter of learning how to work within your own skin. And some people have combination. You might have some larger pores in the center of your face. You might have more dryness to the outside. And one thing too is that if you are not sure if you're dry, maybe you're just dehydrated, sometimes you can actually see when you push the skin up with your finger, if you see horizontal lines across the skin, it means that you're actually dehydrated, not dry. It means you probably just need more water, right? The skin is just, and that's going to be an inside out type thing. And then, Ellen, if you want to go to the next slide, or I think there's one we skipped. If you want to go back to, it was like, where do we begin? Yeah, that next one. Yep. So just to give you a few points of, with all this information, where do you start? So deodorant is an important one because of the lumen compounds. That's really key right now. Soap is another one, especially with how much we're washing our hands. But if you think about, we want to focus from here up, but that's, 90% of the body, 90 or 10%, 90% of the body is from here down. So if you want to reduce your toxic burden, you're going to get more bang for your buck with things that are covering your whole body, like the soap, the body wash you use, the lotion that you use and you put all over your whole body. So those are three just quick win ways to reduce your toxic burden that are really easy to do.
We wanted to have some fun in our last 6 minutes and talk a little bit about products themselves. There were a couple of questions that came up though that I thought would be good to talk about, Tiffany. And one is castor oil for hair growth. And is it okay to put on your eyelashes? And I do know in the research I've done with castor oil is the jury's still out if it really helps with hair growth or not. I know it is a very moisturizing product to use. And I would ask whoever's asking this question, I would probably ask an eye doctor if it's, unless you have other information, Tiffany, if castor oil is okay to put on your eyelashes.
Yeah, I mean, the same research, Ellen, I've seen as far as it hasn't necessarily been proven yet, but it does. Essentially, it's going to moisturize the eyelashes. I know you don't want to get it into your eye, so if you're putting too much, it easily drips into the eye. So I would be cautious about that. Yeah. I also saw a question about essential oils. Essential oils, yes, I mean, they can be really potent. So it's all about the formulation and how much you're using of them. We have products with essential oils in the right amounts. We have some that are without as well for people who have sensitivities. So many people have different type of skin. And that's why we know it's a journey, and we want to work with you through the clean beauty journey, because if you have really sensitive reactive skin, there are certain things that I use that I wouldn't recommend for you. I'm going to recommend some other products. For example, Tammy Fender is an esthetician, right? And she's one of the brands that we carry. And so her line is great for redness, rosacea, just really sensitive reactive skin types. And I saw somebody asked about clean skincare brands. And I would really say there's so many. I mean, if you could see the slew of products I have next to me, there's so many. But I would look at Follain.com, and we're going to have an email for you at the end to reach out to us as well to ask any questions. And even when you reach out, it's not a typical help email. It's very consultative, and we want to walk you through what you need. So definitely feel free to reach out and ask any guiding questions to help match you the best products. It's the number one thing that we love to do.
I was also thinking too, Tiffany, is some of us out there that pull our eyebrows and we want, or someone like me, I don't pull my eyebrows, but my eyebrows are very thin. If we are doing damage to our skin and we want to cover it up, let's say we want to darken our eyebrows, or we want to cover up a blemish that we have actively hurt, what's your advice on products to use and how much products to use, the fine line between cleansing, moisturizing, and then makeup and cover up?
Yeah, I think, you know, your makeup too should be clean as well. There's certain things like this eyebrow pencil has sweet almond oil in it. And sweet almond oil really nourishes the skin, full of omega fatty acids, which is really important for the skin health and for the hair regrowth. So when you're talking about the eyelash area, something like this really helps to both cover up some of the damage, but also heal it. The whole point is not to have more damage to the area, but to use something that, you know, you can cover up, you can do the hair strokes, and it's still going to have nourishing ingredients, right? And the same for, I see a lot of questions coming in about hair regrowth and hair health. And I think given the fact that the pores on your head are 1.5 times the size, and the products that you're using are really penetrating that area, to again, you know, reach out to the team or simply go to follain.com and you'll see a bunch of different hair products that we have: shampoos, conditioners, scalp tonics to really treat the scalp. If you have an itchy scalp, even things like that, that are really beneficial and are using clean ingredients.
Yeah, and I think it is, Tiffany's right, everybody's different. So we wanted to give you just a taste of an understanding that it's important what you put on your skin, just as much as it's important of what you put inside your body. And everybody's skin and hair is different. Someone with curly hair is going to be different than someone with straight hair. Someone who has an itchy scalp might be different than someone who has an oily scalp. So there's different products for different people for different needs. And you can just, like Tiffany said, go to Follain.com and see what they have. They have all different kinds of products, as well as calling or emailing help, and they'll give you a consultation. We are getting close to the top of the hour. I will also take all of the questions that we got in chat, and then we'll do our best to answer them in a follow-up email and send them out to you. But Tiffany, I did want to ask you if there's anything that you recommend for scarring on skin.
Yeah, there's certain ingredients like vitamin E is really great for scars. I also see someone asked about dark spots as well. So dark spots is going to be more of your vitamin C, or rosehip is a powerhouse ingredient for both scars and dark spots. So this is pure rosehip seed oil. That color is natural. It's a gorgeous orange color. And so rosehip, something like that, is a really powerful but gentle tool. And you'll find it in a lot of our oils, our creams, to really soothe. Things also like calendula. I know, Ellen, you love calendula, and it's such a healing ingredient. You'll find that in a lot of the products as well.
And I know we're at 3 o'clock Eastern, but one of the things Tiffany and I talked about that we wanted to go over, and we realized we don't have enough time, is sometimes just making your skincare, brushing your teeth, washing your face, putting on moisturizer, an experience. So instead of just washing your face and being done with it, dry it, run out. I mean, some of my favorites are, I love this. This is an exfoliating wash. And when not wash, but a scrub. And when I use this, I breathe in the scent that I'm getting. And then I also enjoy the Topper Harper oil. And again, the same thing. What's the texture? And then I put it on my face. And for those that are skin pickers out there, using your palms can be really key instead of using your fingertips, because they're so sensitive. They don't feel as many of the blemishes. But maybe, going in your medicine cabinet, finding, exploring some new things or taking out what you like and creating a routine that feels good to you. That's pretty and nourishing.
And it's so key. I think that we're big believers that your face wash should make you want to take a deep breath. And especially now when we're really focused on just trying to maintain our self-care, our mental health, it's a really tough time to, make sure that you're using products that are really nourishing you, and just take that moment and have it be, a moment of just a deep breath is really key.
So I want to be conscious of everybody's time and thank you all for joining us today. This is a journey, and it's an opportunity to make a change and do something good for yourself. You can reach Follain here at help@follain.com or the website address. There is a free shipping code, free-BR, and you'll get free shipping from Bethesda. I'm going to send this out to everybody. It's a Conquering the King story. Victoria is a skin picker. I know we've talked a lot about skin picking versus hair pulling, but I do want to give that its attention. And then you can always reach me at ellen@habitaware.com. And I did want to, if anyone needs any help training their bracelets, just some upcoming webinars that will be coming up. How to train Keen, I'm going to do it live. Bring your bracelets, we'll train them together. I'm also going to do another one on how to use Keen in therapy with best practices. And BFRBs, is there a cure? Fact versus fiction. So be on the lookout for all of those. And thank you everybody for joining us. And Tiffany, thank you, thank you, thank you. I think we could have used 2 hours because we didn't get a chance to do all the things we wanted to do.
I think so too, but just thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us. I know it's a lot of information in an hour, but don't hesitate to reach out. These are topics that Ellen and I are incredibly passionate about. And we really want to make sure that you feel supported throughout this journey.
Thanks everybody.